Welcome to the Soul Workspace, a sanctuary for lightworkers, visionaries, and soul-led creators. I'm Andrea, and it's my honor to be of service. Welcome, everyone. I'm so pumped about this next episode, where I have the pleasure of interviewing Joanie Barnes. Her business is called Three Feathers Spiritual Wisdom, and her story is so inspiring. She's going to talk about her special gifts, how they developed throughout her life, and she's also going to share her business journey. So let's dive in. I got to know her a little bit, before the interview. She sent me, some information on her journey, and I got really intrigued by her mentioning all of her clairsenses. And so, Joanie, if you want to share that a little bit, like, when did all this start opening up for you? Were you a young child? Did like a specific event happen in your life that felt like opened up? And did you feel supported as you started realizing all your gifts?
Well, that's a really good question, and it's going to be a kind of a roundabout story. I believe that everyone has gifts. I would say I'm a late bloomer with some of my gifts. Um, some of them I probably have had and utilized and not even realized it when I was young. My intuition and my spidey sense has always been strong. It has helped me clue in to people who may be a bit nefarious around me and who would take advantage of me, or I would listen more. And so my senses were heightened. I, you know, in my regular life and my job, as a librarian, I have utilized my intuition to get me through my profession, and feeling a sense of like, when something was right or when I knew a project was going to be a success, there would be like a ding 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 going on inside of me, like this extra like energy of like, I know what this is going to bring, or I know what this is going to do. So it was kind of that deeper knowing. I've also had premonitions, and I remember I remember having a premonition dream when I was in college, and I dreamed that uh, I was with my younger brother and a niece and nephew, and we were like in a country that was being bombed, and we were like refugees, and I felt the emotion of like trying to keep us together and trying to keep us safe. And I had visions of men in uniforms and things like that. And when I woke up the next day, President Clinton had ordered the bombing of Libya over the Lockerbie. They bombed an commercial airplane or something. They were responsible for that, and so then they were bombed. So when I woke, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" So the energy of the world, or that sense, has been in me. Now I didn't think much of it because, um, like, oh my God, I have a gift. And it's because I'm actually from a family of gifted people. My younger brother sees spirit. My mother has had intense, or used to have intense premonitions, and she would also say to us, that when she passed away, she would communicate with us, and she has. So, um, I won't go into that story. That's for another time. But my gifts have always been there, and it's only within the last 10 years or so that I really practiced them. I mean, I've been reading the tarot since the 1990s for family and friends, but not professionally. So people I know, and sometimes I would go a long time before reading for anybody. It was only within the last 10 years that I concentrated more on building up my senses. My clairaudience, which was hearing, spirit came in very strong. In fact, it was quite strong. It was the first one that I really noticed, hearing things. And then, I can hear things in the real world, and because I had a cat, and when he passed away, I could still hear him meowing at me. And then, but my claircognizance, my knowingness, has also been strong, right? It's the deep knowingness, like I know that's going to happen. And sometimes it takes a while before the thing I know is going to happen actually happens. And it's like, I knew that was going to happen. And then the clairvoyance does come, but it comes more in meditation or when someone is talking to me about something. And then I start seeing a scene in my mind, and it's like a movie or something. And the reason I think why I focus more on my spiritual path and on is because of things that weren't going right in my life at that time, at my job, and so I was depending more on giving it up to spirit, and how I would deal with the emotions that I was having, and I had an oracle deck. I still have an oracle deck of angels at that time. And every time I would shuffle and a card would come out, it was Sandalphon, the Archangel Sandalphon, and the word on the card was power, and the number on the card was number 31, which is significant because that's the number that's connected to my mother and her birthday. And so that card kept coming up over and over and over. And for me, it was about taking my personal power back, standing in my power, standing in who I was, accepting it, embracing it, loving it. And so um, then things opened up. And when I mean things open up, it means opportunities open up. Um, I would go to fairs every once in a while, to metaphysical fairs, um, psychic fairs, whatever you want to call them. And I had a reading with a woman named Lisa Zager. She's here in Lincoln. This fair was in Lincoln. And we had an incredible conversation. And then she invited me to participate in a group that she and another medium by the name of Kelly Higgins uh, uh, held and offered, and it was called the Lightworkers of Lincoln. And it doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. Once COVID happened, people scattered basically. But it was a fabulous group where I could go and learn about these psychic abilities, learn about metaphysical type things. I could practice. So we would learn and then we would practice on each other. And it just gave me, more insight in my own gifts and more ways that I could attract what I want, and I started practicing the law of attraction through a gratitude prayer and meditation that I do every day. I used to be heavy in debt. I'm no longer heavy in debt. I'm abundant. But that gratitude prayer was me saying, I am already abundant, even when I was deeply in debt. And I believed, you have to believe it. That's what the law of attraction is all about, is really believing in it, even when it may not realistically be true yet. But it is the energy, and the energy and the thought come before the reality. And so I went through all of that and then decided to start my own business with the intention of getting it ready that when I retire, then I'd have that income stream that continues to come in besides, the regular pensions and things and other savings and things like that I'm building up. Um, so, I dreamed of maybe retiring early, and I may be able to still do that, to do this full time, but um, it can, is it is it's still a dream. The reality really hasn't hit that one quite yet, but hopefully I'll know when that shows up.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's so powerful. And yeah, I just love what you said about practicing. And I think that's so key, especially for somebody who's listening who is just starting to, and I also liked what you said, like everyone has these gifts, right? We're just not, like, not all of us are aware of it. And that's kind of how I felt growing up. And I didn't, it's so beautiful that you had such a supporting family that was already into it. I was the complete opposite. So when I would come to questions with my parents, they were sweet about it. They were like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know? And
Yeah.
so yeah, when you start to sense that, okay, like I'm starting to get in tune with my gifts and my abilities, I think you're right. Practice is so important, and I know that that has helped me a lot just to really open up. So when did you feel like you were ready to like start your own thing, right? Like was your intuition on point? Did it feel like a leap of faith? Maybe just talk a little bit about that.
Well, I would say it was probably a year after I started with the Lightworkers of Lincoln. Um, what really helped me is the positive feedback that I got from people. The the strengthening again of what I hear. And then, I'm actually a person who dives into things before really knowing what I'm diving into. And so I just felt enthusiastic. When I feel enthusiastic and all fired up, I just want to go ahead and go in. And then it's after I dive in that I start to learn what I should have prepared myself for. So there you go. But I one of the things that encountered was people who gave me good feedback, even those people who I think I wasn't on target with their reads. I could feel that, and I could say, okay, how can I do this better? Um, I before I did it professionally, I remember I would read for friends all the time. And when I started up my business, and maybe there was a point where I was like, should I be doing this? I had a friend tell me that 10 years earlier when I read for her, that it she remembers the reading still. It was a profound reading for her. And she said, "You have incredible gifts." And I just felt like it was my purpose to use those gifts to help people. It's always with the best of intentions. And that was key to me. One thing that I thought through very carefully is the ethics of what I would do. And it's always with, and I say this to my clients, it's always with the highest intention of helping you in some way. And the I again, back to Lisa Zager, she helped me jump in by she wasn't able to go to a fair, and she said, Joni, you know, I let go and replace me, for that fair. Um, and then the first big fair that I had here in Lincoln was so much fun. And again, I felt like it was on target again. I had a friend sitting with me at at the table because I had never done it, and I felt like I needed somebody to sit with me and talk to people while I was reading for four people. And my friend said to me after I was done with a client that a person had come over and said to her, "Oh," and she pointed at me and said, "Her energy, her aura is all blue." And it's like, what does that mean? Well, it means that I'm things are flowing through me. The energy from spirit is flowing through me. And it's a loving spirit and it's in a supportive spirit. And so I through the process of the last 5 or 6 years that I've been doing this professionally now, I've I have gotten good feedback. I've strengthened because of the amount of people that I read for now. I've strengthened those gifts to feel on target. And then there are times when I don't feel like I'm on target, that the person that I'm reading for, they sometimes don't they're not fully open with every possible question or what they want. Like, one time I think this man was too shy to say, "I really would like you to do a relationship reading. I'm looking for love and whatever." He just said, "Okay, just do a general reading." And at the end, it had nothing to do with about love at all. And he looked at me and says, "But what about my love life?" And I'm thinking, you should have said that at the beginning. So, it, it in my process, I invite their spirit guides, their guardian angels and ancestors forward. And I ask that my ancestors, and my angels and guardians, and my mother Lucille to come forward and help facilitate the messages coming through. So, I've been asked by a friend, "How are you so confident that of the messages coming through?" And I said, "Well, I'm confident of my team. My mother is not going to let me down." And in fact, I one time, well, more than one time, but she goes with me to these events, spiritually. I've had many times where people say, "Your mother's here." I said, "Yeah, I know." She comes with me because she's helping me. She's helping me. So I depend on my team. They're not going to let me down. It's just sometimes there is energetic blocks or energetic, I may not be the right reader for that person. And, you know, I I don't necessarily pick the clients. They pick me. But I strive to try to help them as best I can. I've had instances where people weren't ready for the message that was coming through. I had a client cry through the whole thing, and because it was a tough message. It was a message that, there was domestic violence in her home, and the pattern of the reading was leave, leave, leave. Practically every card on the table had a vehicle on it, whether it was a ship or a hot air balloon or even a little animal in a leaf floating down a river. My process is to get messages off the cards, but it's also to look at the bigger pattern that is before me on the table of the cards and what I'm hearing. And it was leave, leave, leave. But she didn't want to leave. She wanted a solution. and she wasn't ready. She wasn't ready. Ethically, I make it a point to make sure that I do tell people what I'm seeing and hearing, but I do it with gentleness and compassion and kindness. And I say, there's going to be some heartache here, but let's see what you need to do, right? Let's see what you need to, who are the helpers that will help you through, and what you need to do. So those are, how to communicate with people about these things is a big, big issue. I've encountered many people who have had bad experiences with readers, or psychics who've told them things that they thought were set in stone. Like, they told me I will never find love. And, I it makes me very sad. And so I try in my business model is to be the most ethical person that I can be, and to be kind and compassionate in the relaying of the messages. So, that's a further thing that I've learned. And I've made some mistakes in that area too, because it is, you know, communication is one of, I think, the biggest challenges in the world, and stuff. So when I have to say something uncomfortable, if I see something in the cards that I think people are not going to want to hear, it's a hard thing. Uh, um, for those of you out there who know the tarot, the Tower card means major change. That
Mm.
can be unexpected, Uh, what I make sure to do is I make sure to communicate it, because I'm ethically bound to communicate what I hear and what I see, the patterns, the messages I receive. So I feel ethically bound to do that. But it's also can be how you deliver that message. And I
Absolutely.
I want to deliver it with a love and compassion and kindness.
Mm.
And like, okay, this may be coming, but how is this part of your lesson? How is this part of your purpose? How can you deal with it? What can you do? Who is around you? You know, the example that I just gave about the reading that I did for the person, leave, leave, leave. There were three of the cards that came out in a row. If you know the tarot, there are pip cards. So there's, ace through king, and she got three of the cards that were all numbered four. So four of cups, four of wands. I don't even remember what they were, but three of the four cards in a row. That is my numerologically, that's angelic. That's 444. That to me is a sign the angels were around her. And that's what I said is like, you're going through all of this, but the angels are telling me they are around you. They are trying to help you. They're trying to protect you. They're trying to guide you. So even when there's a difficult message, there's always a balance in the cards. And I ethically need to, um, tell the truth, but tell it with kindness and compassion.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. Yes, I agree. I think not always the messages that they're going to get is going to be something that they want to hear. I've had readings, so I've done with people where it's funny. It was almost very similar, like you need to leave this person, but yes, the way you word it and the way you bring it out and support that person through that message is so key. Um, and I loved in the beginning when you mentioned how you just jump right in because that is so me.
Yeah.
And I also have some other friends that are kind of, that are entrepreneurs like this, and they have that same pattern. And I think it's just like a way for us to bypass that perfectionism. Because it can be so easy to wait and wait and wait till everything's perfect to jump right in. And the universe is like, nope, you just need to dive right in. And if you make mistakes, it's okay. Like you're going to learn along the way. And I like to bring that up because there could be somebody listening who's like, it can be a little scary at first to put yourself out there. I know I was super excited to put myself out there, and then I would have days where I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I would have some self doubt, which is completely normal on the journey. And I just love that you mentioned that because that's so me. And it's just, yeah, sometimes you just gotta dive right in and
Yes,
course
yes,
correct. Yeah, course
yes.
correct. Yep.
And I would say that is what I've done as well. Like I dived in and I would take every opportunity. And what happened is between my full-time job and then this side job or this business, I got way overloaded. And so in 2023, I was working basically every day during the day for my work, and then on the weekends, I read out of a couple of stores. Right now, I read out of Bodie Imports in Lincoln, and I also read out of a store in La Vista, Nebraska, called Solstice in the Vale. And so I was doing that a lot. I was doing all the events that I could sign up with, and some of them were not successful at all. And by November of 2023, I got really sick. And I had to pull out of a couple of events because I was very ill. And that's when Spirit was saying, we love that you're enthusiastic about this, but you have to have balance. And so 2024, the word for my year was balance. And then seeking that balance. I still do what I love to do, but I don't take every opportunity. I space it out. I listen more to my intuition about what will be, what is workable for me in having that balance. So I mean that's one of the I would say that's one of the lessons actually I had to learn. I was quite confident about what I was doing. My gifts were improving. I was feeling the energy. Sometimes when I read for people, I feel something. I've been touched on the face several times while I'm doing readings. That's kind of a funny story. The last time that happened, I was reading for a fellow medium, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I just got touched on the face." And she looked at me and she was kind of looking with her sight beyond me, and she says, "It's a woman that's touched you." And I said, "Oh, it's my mother." So, so anyway, those are affirmations. Those are ways that I know that I'm hitting the target and hitting the mark. But I didn't start out feeling those feelings. It's over time. You have to give yourself time. You have to give yourself grace, and you have to listen for the lessons, like my lesson to be more balanced and pay attention to my health, pay attention to downtime, work in the things that I can do in a better schedule, and it's pacing them out and being kind to myself as well. So,
You are spot on with that. I'm so glad you mentioned all of that. It really is about balance. And you can't really bring that. I talk a lot about steering a little bit away from that hustle mentality in this culture of work yourself to the bone, and you really can't bring that into this. And sometimes it can be painful to slow down, especially if you're super excited about things taking off. But it's funny, like the universe will show up anyway and be like, I'm gonna make you really sick, so you can't do anything anyway.
right,
And
right.
that's, yeah, that's
Mhm.
where you learn. You're like, okay,
Yeah,
like I need to slow down. And that's so important, like you said, to listen to the messages, right? And now you've
right,
learned, like,
right.
okay, it's all about balance. Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
And
and
it's okay to say no to things.
yes, and yes, it is okay to say no. No is a full sentence. Um, but I did have at least a couple of people say to me, once I did slow down and I paced myself, they thought I had stopped my business. So I was so working hard that I was
Mhm.
visible everywhere or whatever. And just pulling back made me a little invisible. And I
Mhm.
was like, no, I have to pace myself. And I explained what happened and being ill. And I said, it was part of one of my lessons to learn for better balance. And, it's a shame you have to explain yourself sometimes to people, but sometimes you just have to. And, it's interesting sometimes the conclusions other people tell you that they have of what's going on and so sometimes you learn how other people perceive you or perceive what's going on. So in interesting.
Oh, absolutely. This whole journey is just interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it
Oh
is.
my goodness. It really is. Yeah. And I liked how you mentioned just give yourself time and grace because it really does take time to develop your gifts and your skills. And that's really the only way is just to time and practice. And
Yes.
that's yep. Yep. And so you had a group that you were able to join and that's really amazing. Would you give anybody advice if they're like, I feel like I'm hearing things, I'm developing my intuition. I don't know of any groups that I can practice. What should I do? Do you have any advice for that? Like if somebody mentioned that to you?
Well, here's a couple of it certainly if you're in Nebraska, there are groups like the Lincoln Vibe Tribe is
Mm-hmm.
one, and the Lincoln Metaphysical Community. I actually used to facilitate that. That was one of the things that I had to pull back on because I needed more time for myself, that better balance. I ran that group for 3.5 years, and so that was plenty of time to give to that purpose. But that group has they have a Facebook page. The Lincoln Vibe Tribe has a Facebook page. And then you know offer yourself up or see if there is a pop-up group. I know the Lincoln Metaphysical Community has pop-up groups. There is a tarot talk pop-up group run by someone else, and they meet monthly. So there are groups out there. There are online groups. There are also webinars, and I have been taking those, not necessarily in the tarot, in the astrology, to get my astrology stuff up and ancestral healing areas that I'm interested in. So there are things that you can join or pay for to do. The other thing is to contact, one of the stores in the area and see if you can become a reader, get a shift once a month or whatever. And if you're practicing, you can do it by just taking donation. If you don't feel comfortable having somebody pay until you feel more versed and knowledgeable and confident, and then you could just say you're doing it by a donation until you feel confident to charge for your gifts and your services. That's something that you could do. You could also offer to barter with other people in some of these online groups. If you give me distance Reiki, I would be happy to read for you, those kinds of things. So I think that it's a matter of being a little creative and figuring out another way to do that. Um, Especially if you're from a family or a friends group that does not approve of of this. And I have met very few people like that, but so far on my journey, but I have met a few, but it's not overwhelming, and so, just keep going, keep trying different things. And networking is good. Networking is good. You meet new people, you learn new things, and they may send a client to you as well. So I've had that happen. Um, and I feel really blessed for all the network that I've built in Nebraska. So I I love people anyway, so I'm happy to, join groups or start groups or, network with people. I'm a social bug, so that's fine.
That was all gold. Oh my goodness. Such good advice. Like honestly, I'm like here taking notes like, "Oh, that is like a great idea," because like I still feel like I'm fairly new and I love that idea of bartering like with or sharing, okay, you do yeah, the distance reiki, I'll do this because I think it is so important to continually not just practice, but like if you do take a long break, you're not having the regular clientele and you go weeks without doing that, it's really good to keep that going.
Right.
So yeah, that was spot on. Um, I was going to now in this. Oh, that was amazing. Wow, thank you so much. I want you to take a little bit of time, and I know you've kind of weaved it in throughout this interview, but if there was anything specific you wanted to mention about Three Feathers Spiritual Wisdom, if you want to mention how they can book with you, or I know you mentioned the two stores you were at. So if you just want to dive in a little bit about that, like maybe all that you offer, or if it's just kind of that general reading. So yeah, go ahead and share.
Mhm. Well, I would be happy to do that. People would I do have a website, but it really needs an overhaul. So I would prefer right now if people, follow me on Instagram, Joanie Three Feathers, or find my business page on Facebook, Three Feathers Spiritual Wisdom. Find me there, and you can message me through those platforms, Instagram, Facebook. My business email is jmbarnes31@gmail.com. And you can email me there about a possible reading. Right now, it's mostly tarot. I was also offering astrology, but I need another class on astrology. I need another webinar or something for that. So I've kind of stopped offering my astrology for the moment. I can do basic charts. If you just want your basic natal chart or solar chart done for your birthday, that I can analyze that. But often then people want to know something more specific that is not in my wheelhouse yet. So, that's still a work in progress, the astrology. I know enough to be dangerous. Let's just say that. And then what I hope someday to be able to offer is something to do with ancestral healing. I've been studying that for a few years now as well, and I have to figure out how I'm going to incorporate that in my business. And like I mentioned, I do read out of a couple of stores, so you can find me at Bodie Imports or once a month and Solstice in the Vale in La Vista or the Omaha Metro once a month as well. And I do a number of events around the state. I mean, in June I was just out in Hastings for the Soul Fest in the park, and the next I've got a couple coming up this fall. Including the one in November that is here in Lincoln. So I do some of those events, and I advertise those through my social media. So you know that when I'm going to be at one of the stores, or when I'm going to be at an event. And the other thing that I want to mention is I love to do parties or other types of events that people need a reader for. I can do small readings. I can do in-depth readings, but I can do small readings as well. And I don't know, I did a couple of parties at Halloween one year, and they were so much fun. And you reach people that never have had a reading, and they do it for fun, and then they discover, because even when it's an abbreviated short reading, they discover that it can also be profound at the same time. So very interesting. I love doing that as well.
So what I get is they need to follow you on Instagram, follow your Facebook page. There, she's going to share upcoming events, and then I will have the website links and her like Instagram handle. I'll have all of that in the description. So if you're listening, you definitely want to book with Joanie. I'll have all that information in the description for you. So that was so amazing. I truly really enjoyed this interview. It was so cool learning all of that. And I think it's beautiful learning about how you've continued your relationship with your mother even after she's passed. I think that can really help people too, like
Yeah.
just knowing that life still goes on and you can still maintain a relationship with your loved ones on the other side.
Yes, you can.
And I think that's so beautiful. And I love that she comes to you during those about your intentions and aligning with your ethics and just how important that is. But also, like giving yourself time and grace on this journey is huge. And just having that balance, that can be a little hard in the beginning. I think we all have to learn that. But yeah, I love that you shared that journey and that there were some ups and downs, but you got the message, you slowed down. And even when you did, I'm sure it, if anything, fine-tuned your skills even more after that. Really showing the universe, I'm going to take care of Joanie. Self-care is important. I'm slowing down and having that balance. So that
Absolutely.
was magical. Well, thank you so much, Joni. It was such a pleasure to chat with you. And I'm definitely going to have to book a session with you because it just sounds so amazing. I personally don't do the tarot mostly because I just don't know a lot about it. I'll definitely have to learn more. And so I haven't had a tarot card reading in a while. So I will definitely be booking a session with you soon.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love to chat about these things. And yeah, the tarot takes time to learn. But once you do learn it and learn the symbology and things like that, there's even more to learn all the time. So it's I don't know. I love it. I love it. I have fun with it. So thank you for having me. I love to chat about this, and I hope your listeners got something interesting.
Oh, I know they absolutely did. So thank you all for listening, and we will see you again on the next episode.